Hello, welcome to another video. This one's a tutorial covering how I planed flesh, so faces, hands, in 28mm. And this was a request from one of the guys who watches the channel, and he specifically wanted it as to how I did it for the Arnhem Heroes figures. So that's what we've got. So the way I thought we'd do it is I've picked the Empress Arnhem Heroes figure of Brigadier Lathbury, obviously sculpted by Paul Hicks. The reason I picked that is it's a fairly relaxed pose. He's got a denizen on, British battle dress trousers, and some light webbing. So what I thought we'd do, the first video will be in relation to how I've painted the flesh on the figures. Then we're going to do subsequent videos covering the denizen smock, British battle dress, and webbing. I have previously done one on the denizen smock, but it was sort of a little bit sort of truncated, so shortened, and there was a number of people asked how I'd done the sort of the brush strokes of the denizen and what have you. So I thought I'd do it this way to try and cover all the bases. So what I would say about this, the setup we've got the camera on a separate tripod on the bench, looking at the area of the figure, and then I've been painting the figure through my magnifying glass, which is in a slightly different position. So it's been a little bit awkward, and as a result of that, probably not up to the normal standards that I paint. So anyway, I'll let you have a judge at that. So I'd be very interested to know what you think of how we've done it this time. So drop any sort of views in the on the comments, and we'll go from there. So we'll go down to the painting desk and have a look at the video. Right, so this is the figure I'm going to paint. You can see I've based it. It's the standard system on me penny. He's been primed in Vigilio black brown, which is the standard colour I use. I brush prime them, don't airbrush them, don't spray them. I've never had any issues at all with it obscuring the detail. So this is the boy I use here. It's Vigilio 822 German black brown from the model colour range. As I've said, I've never had any issues. Brush painted, make sure everything's covered. Depending on the casting, with some of the metal castings, they can become a little bit. The primer doesn't go in all the small details and the little fiddly bits. All I do in relation to that is just thin it down, and then make sure it basically goes in the. Everything's covered. So I'm just having a bit mess around. I'm having a little bit difficulty focusing it there, so it's focused in there, so you can see it there. So that's what we are, and what we're going to do now is paint the flesh colours. Right, so this is the first colour I'll be using, and this is going to be the shadows, and basically the base colour of the face, and I'll be leaving the black brown and things like the eye sockets and a little bit round sort of the nose, but you'll see that as I do it. Vigilio game colour 66, the colour's tan. Right, so we've got the paint sorted, and what we're going to be basically doing, bracing me fingers, however you do that, and I'm just going to basically layer it on. So you're doing the standard stuff. What I tend to do is leave the bottom lip. Obviously, if you make any mistakes, easily corrected. And it's basically just a case of of taking your time. As I've said, we're using the black brown as the sort of base. Very dark shadows. You need very little paint on your brush, and at this stage we're just blocking the colours in. As I say, I tend not to paint eyes on. For me, you're going to be looking at it really at sort of 54mm figures before I'd even think about painting the eyes. It's a personal choice. All I would say is that if you do it, you've got to make sure that, well, to cut to the chase, that you do a good job. Very, very easy to get the sort of the pop eye look, or you get them cross-eyed, and that's the prime reason why I tend not to do it. You end up repainting them, and just I just think it looks better without doing it that way. You can obviously twist the figure around to get into the you know, the nooks and crannies. So looking at that, you can see on this eye here, it's just a case of getting it up. Basically, I find you want quite a small area of shadow. You can obviously use this colour on the neck as well. Get a bit more paint on the brush. And the nice thing about doing it this way, any sort of mistakes, or they can always you know, can always be corrected, and you can just do corrections with the primer colour if you go over anything. So what I'm intending to do with this is do the whole figure in a number of different steps, so covering the denizen and also the battle dress. So that's basically where we are with the face. Happy enough with that. As I've said, you can always tidy it up hands wise. Ideally, if you're able to, we're going to leave gaps between the fingers. If you mess this up, you can always go over it and sort of redo using the black brown. So it's not particularly a biggie. So this is a bit of a first for me with juggling the camera and the and my magnifying lens. So that's, you can see they're happy enough with that. The nice thing about doing it this way is you've obviously got the black brown as the shadow, and it's a really good corrective tool as well. You've always got that as your backup if you think you either make a mistake or whatever. Now this scheme I've used for a number of different things. I think what you've got to be careful of, you can see I've made a bit of a balls up there, but we can sort that out, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Don't normally do that. It's obviously just with trying to juggle the looking through the magnifier and making sure that it stays in camera shot. Yeah, so reasonably happy with that. So that's basically the first stage. Right, so all I've basically done here is I've overpainted on the collar of the smock. I've just used the German cam black brown to retouch it up, and on where I ballsed up on the rear fingers there, you can see I've just basically painted the lines back in, and that's it. Right, so the next stage of the flesh is the main colour, the colour that's going to cover the majority of the face. Again, Vallejo game colour. This is number 41, which is dwarf skin. Right, so what we're going to do here with the dwarf skin is basically touch it on the highlights. So nose, obvious place. You're going to cover, you want to leave the tan in sort of the assisting with the sort of the darker areas. So what I'm touching up here is bridge of the nose. You can do the sort of the side part of the nose if you want to. Top lip is always a good thing to do. Chin. Cheek areas. Ears are always good thing to cover. Covering it round. And obviously jawline round there. You don't have to do masses because you want some of the brown to show through. So that's one side of the figure done. Turning it round, we'll hit that ear again. Jawline going round. Getting up to the brow. That part of the nose again. That part of the top lip. And then what you can do is basically, if you maneuver the figure round so you can get it in a bit of a better position to do the other cheek, so you can block that in there. As I've said, if you go, oh God, I've done far too much, you can always sort it out. None of it's a big problem, and just doing it in as normal. So we'll do a little bit line around the neck. Back of the hairline. You can see how it's starting to sort of form now. Looking at this, missed a bit there. I think we'll cover that a bit more round here, onto there, onto the hairline again. A little bit at the back. What I tend to do as well, which you can probably hear, is just rinsing my brush in water, dab it on a little bit of tissue before preloading the brush again. So knuckles are important things with hands. So looking at it here, what I try to do is dot the knuckles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to block in a little bit of the colour here. You can see how the brushes, there's a paint getting a bit thin, so we'll load up with a bit more. And then for fingers, you're sort of doing it like a skeleton, if that makes sense. So you need to paint the whole finger. There, 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 and there. Thumb on the top. What you'll find is it's basically you'll pick it up as you go, and you'll start knowing the areas to sort of hit. It's basically the high points. So knuckles, part of the fingers, backs of the hands. The stuff that you've left in shadow are obviously fine. So we'll turn this round. So there's the hand at the rear. So we've got the thumb there, that knuckle joint there, little dab there. And then this bit here, which we're obviously going to be careful with. 1, 2, 3. That's under there. Turning it round slightly. More paint on. Right, so that's about sorted for that colour, and you can see now how it's how the face is starting to take shape. Right, so this is the highlight colour. You can see this is a fairly worn bottle. Vallejo game colour again. It's colour number 4, which is elf skin tone, lighter version. So that's what we're going to be using to do the highlights on the face and hands. Right, so elf skin tone. So what you're going to do with this is very sort of selective. So what I'm going to do here is tip of the nose like that, maybe his middle of the bridge. Brows are always a good thing to hit. Then we're going to be looking at the cheekbones, but obviously a smaller area. So we're going to touch that in there, maybe a touch there, bring the eyes in, tip of the chin, top lip if you can, You can do a little bit maybe round here with the corner of the jaw. Because it's quite a lighter shade, I tend not to do sort of necks and things like that with it, because it is quite a little bit lighter. So what we'll look to do now is have a look back over here. So again, touch that part of the ear, line around the jaw, a little bit there, and we'll twist the figure around so we can get into the what I would say, I have found this quite difficult to do, so it may not be up to my normal standard, so I do apologise for that. So top lip looks like it's missing a little bit, so we'll get a bit on there if we can. Clean my brush, it's getting a bit dry. Right, so we'll go on to the hands now. So what you're going to do quite very small amounts here, primarily the knuckles. So looking again, and we're basically going to be dotting them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe the top little bit there, and maybe that finger there, because that's standing out a little bit. Looking at the hands at the back again, tip of the thumb looks like an obvious place. This bit here, going around there, and then maybe it's on the on these parts of the hand there. Now what you've seen there is the paint's been a little bit thin, and it's drawn it. I don't think it, looking at it, it's not too bad, so I may be able to get away with it. So I've dried my brush a little bit and picked up some more paint. Right, and maybe there's a spot there, and you just get the shape of the figure forming. So I'm looking at it there. We'll have a little bit more on there. I think that looks a bit there. That's better. Bit happy with that. You can see the way the face is forming now. Right, so we're going to paint the bottom lip. Valijo model colour 802 Sunset Red. What I'm going to do with this is add it to the dwarf skin, which was the second colour that we applied. So you can put it on straight from the bottle, but it can sometimes look a little bit stark, a little bit too pinky. So if you mix it with one of the flesh tones, that's sometimes a bit better. Right, so what we're going to do now is attempt to paint the bottom lip. So you can see that I've mixed it, so it's not the Sunsetter, I've mixed it with a little bit of dwarf skin. So just so you get that different shade, ideally you want to be leaving some of the black brown around the lip. It's sometimes quite difficult. You can see underneath hasn't quite worked. So, I mean, I'm happy enough with it. All I would do now is using some of the elf skin tone, a little bit of Sunset Red into the elf skin tone to get a slightly paler shade of that, which I've done there. And then we're looking to highlight it a little bit like that. So I'm reasonably happy enough with that. As I've said, it is quite awkward doing it not the normal way. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Those are the colours I use. You can see if I stand it back a little bit, you get the idea. It's to get the sort of the 3D dimensions to the face. Right, there we are. As I mentioned on the introduction, any sort of comments, please drop them in. I know Alex was mentioning about editing and putting sort of a run along the bottom with the Valijo paint colours. We'll maybe see that, how to do that on the next one. I've obviously included a photo of the paint, described it with a code number. If you think that's sufficient, that's absolutely fine. So as normal, thanks for all the support. Any questions, shout up, drop them in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them. And we'll see you in the next video.